Bam, man. Greetings and salutations. Just one more time, man, with your boy Tony right here on that his show, Stories Written by a Current Prisoner. Prison interviews, man. That's exactly what we do. You know, with that being said, man, it's roll call day today, man. Where are you guys from out there, man? You know, I sincerely appreciate you guys, man, for keeping the show alive, for watching it, for all you guys' support, for all the kind comments, man. Just want to know where you guys from out there, man. I don't want to know a lot about you, but at least let me know that. You know, where you guys currently residing from, man. Drop a comment, man. You know, I'm currently residing in the 562, man, the Los Angeles area, the Southeast area. That's where I roam. You know? With that being said, man, I did take a second to analyze the situation at hand, and I have came to a conclusion and a realization, man, that the audio, man, it's not up to par, man. It's not up to par. You guys are absolutely 100% correct, man. The audio could be a lot better. You know, these phone calls are coming from a prison phone. However, there are certain gadgets, certain instruments, certain technology, certain software that I can use in order to enhance the audio. So I am in the process of acquiring new gadgets, you know. So when that does come into place, when I do receive them, I will let you guys know, hey, you know, I did implement these new things. Does it sound better? So I'm going to need you guys' help and let me know what's up. With that being said, this is part 3 of the Jeremy Beasley story. Do not forget to hit that like button, man, for your boy right here. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Thank you once more, man. Roll call. Where you guys from?
Alright. So where we left off was I just transferred to High Desert, and I just left Pelican Bay, and my cellie, his name was Turtle. He was a federal member of the Aryan Brotherhood, and he was grooming me to be put up for the tip to become a member. And now you got to remember that being, you know, to be asked to be a member was a big thing. Coming in the system, even before I came in the system, I used to hear about these guys, you know, the brand members, the Aryan Brotherhood. These guys were 10 feet tall and bulletproof. They were, to the white population, they were walking gods, living gods. You know, when you think of, you know, the old Norse gods, you know, Thor, Tyr, Odin, all of them. I mean, that's what these guys represented to the white, to the criminal world, to the whites. So, you know, I'm thinking, damn, these dudes want me to be one of them. So he groomed me on what to do, what he wanted from me, and you know, he put me out there to see if I can live up to his expectations. And his expectations were pretty simple. He wanted me to send money back to the brothers, because they were all slammed, doing income issue terms in Pelican Bay, had very little money, except for amongst themselves. And because you got to remember, the Aryan Brotherhood is mostly based inside prison. They don't have too much of a reach outside of the prison system. So I get to High Desert, and one of the things he told me was, when you get there, whoever has the keys, let him have the keys. Let him be the front man. Let everyone just, you know, get at him. Let him do whatever he does. If he does something stupid, then you go ahead and take over. But you can do more from behind the scenes than you can being in front. So I show up to High Desert, and I'm kind of quiet. And when I get there, and you know, a couple of the dudes recognized me from Pelican Bay, and they knew who my cellie was. So I had all these dudes coming to me. Hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? And I just told them, hey, look, man, you know what I mean? I'm just here. I'm not trying to run nothing. I'm just trying to get some money together to send up to the Bay, you know, and put some shit together. And I remember, I don't remember his name right now, but he was from Orange County, and he had the keys. So he was on the upper yard. I remember he comes down, and he was all concerned that I was going to take the keys from him. And I told him, I said, look, this is you, stud. Go ahead and run this, do what you do. I'm just here to make some money. Just keep me in the loop on anything that happens. And around this time, the NLRs were kind of deep, and they were coming up in the system, and everybody wanted to be a writer. So there was a good NLR section, a good NLR car. So while I'm at High Desert, I was involved with, you know, sending dope back to the guys in the hole. I was involved in trying to sell drugs, alcohol. I was making whiskey. I was worked with a couple guys to bring dope into the system. I had a couple men assaulted there at High Desert. I assaulted a couple guys at High Desert with knives. I stabbed a couple dudes. And I made a name for myself there. That's kind of where I started to make a name for myself. Because like I was saying before, when I was at Calipatria, I was kind of programming. And I made a little bit of a name for myself to be willing to pick up a knife and do the shit that I did. But High Desert was, I was the one that everyone came to that needed something. They knew.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That I was going to be the one putting in the work. And it was around this time that I bought into this ideology that being white was right. Being white was we were the superior race, we were better than everybody else. And so I'm sitting here and I'm playing politics, and I'm having dudes beat up on the yard so the other guy go to a hole so that he can send kites back there and bring kites back. I had one guy stabbed because he was talking shit about the brand. When I was there, I remember somebody, and I started seeing the system a little bit different there. I started seeing guys that they weren't as tough as I thought they were. When I came in the system, I seen all these dudes, tattoos, muscles, looking, and like I said, I was scared as shit when I came in the system. And so I'm thinking all these dudes are just killers and thugs and everything like that. But I started realizing that most of these dudes are scared to death. Most of these dudes don't want to do nothing. You have a small percentage, I'd say maybe 10% of the white population that will actually put in work. The rest of these guys they just do what they're told to do because they don't want to be assaulted, or they don't want to be put in the hat, or they want to be liked, shit like that. So while I'm there, the race riots kind of jumped off, and it was the riots against the blacks. And the first time it was on the top yard, one of the white, the skinhead, he kept staying in the vent and fuck these. He just kept using the N-word, and the blacks went to the whites and said, "Hey man, tell this dude to keep his mouth shut." And they pretty much told him, "Man, we ain't telling him shit." The dude kept using the word, so the black rushed in the cell and beat the shit out of him in the cell. Well, because the black touched another white dude, we had to get off on the blacks. So the lower yard took off on the blacks. Well, I wasn't involved in that one. So then there was a truce that came out after that, and then the blacks rushed the whites again, and then I was going to be involved in the next one. And by the time I made it to the door, the yard was already down. That was the end of it. So there was a couple of us that was left behind. I was the only white left on the yard after they took everybody off the yard. It was me and what we call pinochle players, the woods that are not going to put in no work. They're just going to sit around and just do what they're told. So a couple of new whites show up. I make sure everybody had a piece. I make sure to let everybody know, first chance you see, we're going to stab the first black we can. And we're trying to go to the law library. I'm trying to go to...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Trying to go to wherever I could, because even though that I had, a little bit of juice, a little bit of authority there, the fact is I didn't want to be the only white on the yard that didn't get involved in the riot, because I know how that looks in the politics. And one of the things that I learned was, no matter how good you are, there's always someone better than you. And politics is a motherfucker when it comes in prison. People will use it against you. They will, I would watch guys, "Hey dog, I love your life, I love everything about you," and then turn around and stab the dude up the next day. And so I didn't want to get off that yard unless I put some work in. So after about 4 months in a lockdown, they come and tell me, "Hey, you're transferring. You're on a bus next week. We put you up for endorsement. took me to a special committee, and I ended up going to ZAPP. So when I get to ZAPP, New Corcoran, I show up there, and you know what? Hey, I just left High Desert. You know what? I'm going to the hole. I am not going to be look like I'm scared. I'm not going to have that impression. I liked all the stuff that I did at High Desert. I liked the power. I liked the influence that I had. I liked all that. But I also realized that, you know, all that comes with a price. You have to keep it up. People only remember the last thing that you've done, the last thing that I did. And if I haven't done nothing, then people start forgetting. And I always had this thing that I wasn't good enough, that I had to be better than the next, so I had to do more. And so I'm at ZAPP, and I'm looking around, and I'm looking for a victim. And I see a guy that they call Pincushion Smith. Now, this guy, as soon as I see him, he was a kind of a legend, if you will, in the prison system. This dude has been stabbed by the brand. I think 100. He had like 102 stab wounds. He had his throat slit at least 7 times, and he survived every single time. This dude was like one big ass cockroach. You just couldn't kill him. And I wanted to be the one to kill him. I wanted to be the one to make my name off of him. And so, and I figured if I did that, then everybody would know who I am. There would be no ever second guessing anything. So the NLR, this is where I got involved with the NLR. So the Nazi lowriders were there. There was a guy named Pirate from, I think he was from San Bernardino, but I'm not too sure on that. Mark Pfeiffer, and there's no one Devil from Long Beach. So they find out. So they come to me and to ask me if I wanted to put in some work. And I told them, hey, check out stuff.
All right. So I'm at ZAPP, and we just opened up the yard, and the NLR come up to me and asked me if I want to put in some work. And I already know I'm leaving, and I already know that I made a decision to stab this dude Pincushion. So I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll put in some work. I figured, what the hell, ingratiate myself to these guys. So he tells me that he has this prospect of his that they want him to put in some work too, but he's never done nothing. He's all nervous. So I said, yeah, go ahead, come with me. So I figured 2 of us, we can get this dude and go down in history. So the Pincushion was working in the kitchen, and they kept him away from all the whites and the Mexicans because he was a dropout from the 80s, and they knew there was a big target on him. But so what I did was I had somebody break the ovens in the upper kitchen so that they had to bring the food down to the lower kitchen to cook it. And when they did, me and Corey ran up in the kitchen and stabbed the fuck out of Pincushion. We rolled this dude to the dirt, and they ended up life flying him out of there. Well, they take us back to the ADSEG, and at this time, none of the cops there had seen anything like that. ZAPP just opened up. It was all level 1s, level 2s. We were the first level 4s there, and we were the first level 4s that showed up in the ADSEG right there. Well, a couple of weeks later, some of those NLRs come back there, and they're all happy and they're all excited, and they're slip, slide, Nazi low ride, they kept saying, and they sent me a kite, said, yeah, I did good, and that as far as they're concerned, I'm a writer now, and that's how I got into the NLR. I wasn't looking for it, wasn't trying to get into it, and somehow I ended up being a writer, and so I kind of kicked it with them guys there in ADSEG, and my whole prospect with Turtle kind of was going down the tubes. So here's a brand member that was grooming me that wanted me to send money to them and asked if I want to be one of them. I haven't got in touch with none of them. They never got in touch with me. The addresses that they gave me were all no good. They either were corrupted or no responses back from them. So I figured, fuck it. I figured that was just a dead end. So I'm in ZAPP, and we're involved in all kinds of shit in that ADSEG. I mean, we were cell extracting, we were assaulting dudes on the yard, It was so bad that they took 4 of us, 4 whites. I was about 3 months after I was there. They took 4 of us and said, we're done with you. We're slamming you. We're validating you as a Nazi lowrider. This was in 1998, and you're never going to see daylight again. And they put us on a special transport and sent us to Pelican Bay. Well, I'm in Pelican Bay, and about 2 weeks later, they come and tell me I'm going out to court for stabbing pincushion. So I go out to court, and the charges end up ultimately got dismissed for insufficient evidence. And I go back to Pelican Bay, and that was it. I was done. I was slammed. I had indeterminate shoe term, and this. Let me see. This was in 1998. I was 25 years old, and I was looking at spending the rest of my life in Pelican Bay too. So I'm up there, and I'm still involved in whatever little politics I can. The truth is, we were up there, and being stuck in Pelican Bay, I felt like a PC. I didn't have a cellie. I had a couple cellies up there, but for the most part, most of the time, I didn't have a cellie. I came out on the tier by myself, went to the yard by myself, and I used to sit here and listen to all these dudes talk about how tough they are, and all this racial shit and everything else, and I'm thinking, none of you guys are doing nothing. You know what I mean? When the doors would crack with some old dude, some old black dude, old Mexican, they would rush them thinking that they did something. And I used to sit back and watch this. And a lot of these guys, I think, wanted to be back there because they were safe. A lot of these guys would go to committee and they would sabotage themselves to keep their validation going. And it's almost like they wanted to be in the chute.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
But I was up there, and a lot of guys, what I thought at the time, respected me, and my name got around, and because of all the shit that I've done, and hey Tony, I've put in a lot of work. I was one of those dudes that once I decided to jump in, I jumped all the way in, and because of that, I made a name for myself. Well, now I'm known as ZAPP, the NLR from Sacramento. Well, in 2000, so a couple years later, the warden up there at Pelican Bay was going to give the Aryan Brotherhood, the MA, the NF, and the BGF their own yard up there, the mainline yard, let them all out of the shoe and give them their own yard. So what he did was he had some walkers and talkers. He picked 2 guys from each gang to go around and talk to everybody to kind of make peace with everybody to let all these guys out. And so the BGF, they thought that's all they were doing. It was making peace, and they went around and they were clueless on what was really going on behind the scenes. What was going on behind the scenes was the NF didn't want nothing to do with it, so they stayed in their house. The MA and the brand, what they did was they recruited and solidified some of their power. So I'm not too sure what the MA did, but what the Aryan Brotherhood did, you had 2 guys. You had John Stinson and Rick Turflinger, and they went around and what John wanted to do was he wanted to bring in a bunch of NLRs and use them as soldiers, kind of what the MA does with the Sureños. And so around this time, there was a few guys that were FTB and fuck the brand, and John realized that it was because they got the short end of the stick. Some of these guys got fucked, and so he took them all. Most of them that were put in the hat by Gary and Rascal and some of these guys. He took them out of the hat, and what he did was he made 7. Was it 7? I think he made 7 guys, 5 or 7 guys, NLRs, members overnight, and to say, look, you guys are, going to, be working with us. As a matter of fact, we just made 7 of you guys. There was a guy named Pee Wee McMahon. He was in the hat. They took him out of the hat. He was well liked amongst the NLRs. They made him a brother. Lightfield, Smiley, Richard Miley, and there was a few others. And so Creeper, and within a couple weeks, all of them checked in, with the exception for Smiley. And then he ended up checking in years later. But so at around this time, John comes over to where I'm at, because he's now. Grant, now check this out. He's able to walk around the shoe freely. They would put him in handcuffs or a waist chains, take him from pod to pod, building to building, and let him just go in and talk. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it is absolutely true. So he comes over and he says, "Look, hey, Zapp, I've heard your name mentioned several times. I want to get over here. I want to get to know you. I have some plans for you if you're interested." And now here's John Stinson. This is a guy that is, a legend amongst the whites in prison. So I'm like, hell yeah. So he moves. So he tells me to get with some white dude over there to do a cell swap. So I forced one of the guys in the section with me to swap cells with him. So him and Chunky, Marvin Stanton, move over. And so John and Chunky, so John's on the commission, Marvin, Chunky was on the council at that time. So he comes over and they say, "Look, here's what we want to do. We want to make you a brother. Turtle put you up. Your name's been around for a while. It just kind of fell through the cracks." He goes, "But look, we want to make you a brother. We're not going to do it overnight like we did these other 7, because we want you to be respected. These guys are not going to be respected." And he was absolutely right. Years later, they were a laughing joke. And he said, "Here's what we want. We're going to put you up. It'll take about 2 years, but we want you to find loyal NLRs. We want, the ones that will be loyal to us and look for them." So he put me and my cellie up at the time. My cellie ended up going home, and like most guys that go home, they don't get involved in that shit, and they get a piece of ass and a good meal, and they forget about this prison life and actually just do their own thing. Well, he 2 years goes by. I get word that I'm made, that I'm a brother. So in 2002, I became a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And my whole mission was to keep it quiet and to find loyal NLRs. And I had the authority to take them out of the hat to do whatever I needed to, and that was the goal. But not long after 2000, these guys were walking around. A federal indictment came down, and most of them were indicted. The commission, everything changed a little bit, but everything was the same. But now it was around this time that I found out. So we would hear on the lines, we would hear how these guys were upstanding woods. They were good people. They were, looking out for the whites and everything else. Well, he once I got in, I would hear the little dirty secrets. I would hear, the backbiting. I would hear all the little bullshit that went on behind the scenes. And I started seeing, going, holy shit, there is no brotherhood here. There is no unity here. This is what this is. And I remember talking to John about that one day, and he told me, he says, "Look," he goes, "I don't know what you guys think this is, but this is a prison gang. That the brand comes first. It comes above everything else. We don't give a fuck about nobody out there but ourselves. And the quicker you understand that, the better you'll be." And sure enough, that's exactly how it was. And from that point forward, everything I did for them. It was one of those things that it was an eye opener. So, anyways, I'm sitting back there, and we're doing our thing, which isn't a whole lot because we were slammed. Our mail wasn't going out. There were very little connections or communication with the outside world. So in 2004, I moved in with the NLR dude that I was trying to look out for and take him out of the hat. But ultimately, him and I get into a cell fight, and I kill him. So all that did was promote my status and promote everything else. And I used that, shamelessly. I used that to further my gang status and my career. And I figured, what, that's it. I'm done. You know what I mean? This is going to be my life, and my only goals at this time was to go to the feds or death row. So now I'm all in. This is my life. So in 2006, they created the short corridor, which the buildings already existed. But they moved every validated member, everybody that had any...
You have 60 seconds remaining.